I speak to a lot of students too. They, because they are a mainly ballet company, they said that their friends, based off of social media and what they were seeing on them, were disappointed in their ballet show because they weren't doing flips and they weren't doing crazy acrobatic moving.
That's not ballet.
Ballet, right? They were like whacked out kicks behind their head and tossing people around. They were doing classical, beautiful ballet. And they said their friends didn't care because of what they saw on social media. So what they said was, social media is teaching people what dance is versus, or not what dance is, but what dance looks like now versus what dance really is. Right. So it's changing like the not the commoner's view, but the regular person who isn't a dancer. It's changing their view of what dance looks like.
Knobloch Dance presents Dance Behind the Screen, process production and social media. Hey knowers, welcome to our podcast. We are Knobloch Dance, a social media-based company. We strive to say no to the box. We connect interdisciplinary art, technology, and artists to re-envision the process of art making and sharing.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Azaria of Dance Behind the Screen podcast. And today we're speaking with Chris Coates-Mitchell. Chris Coates-Mitchell started his training in Atlanta, Georgia, before pursuing a professional career in New York City. He has toured Europe and the US with James Amsden, A Few Good Men Dancing, and danced for Broadway Dance Center, Perry Dance, DNA, and Steps on Broadway teachers including Tracy Stanfield, Jeffrey Doig Marks, Oliver Steele, and Mike Esperanza. Chris has also performed on 2 cruise ships with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. Currently, he is a member of Oliver and Terry Steele's company, Steele Dance. In addition, Chris has performed with many other modern companies around the country, including Bear Dance Company, Amanda Selwyn Dance Theater, and Salvatore La Russa Dance Theater in New York City. He has done many industrials and commercials for top companies, including Walmart, choreographed by Ray Leeper, the ELCA, and the New York Sports Club. Chris has also danced with recording artist and Academy Award winner Jennifer Hudson and has performed in the annual Easter bonnet competition Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. As a guest instructor, he has taught at Perry Dance, the Joffrey Ballet School in New York, as well as many colleges across the country. He spent the past 10 years as a choreographer and teacher for the Joffrey Summer Jazz and Contemporary Intensive in New York City, Joffrey South, and Joffrey Southwest. Most recently, he was on faculty at Joffrey Ballet School in New York City and was just studying a piece at the University of Georgia. Chris Coates-Mitchell is currently pursuing his passion of dance photography to add to his extensive dance career. Thank you for speaking with us, Chris.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes. And so for our audience, I met Chris while working at Joffrey Ballet South a few years ago, I think during the 2013 and 14 years. So it's good to be able to talk to you again, Chris.
So very much. And it's so exciting to watch you as you move along in your dance career.
Oh, thank you so much. So to get started, our first question for you is, how would you describe your career, or what is your day-to-day dance life like?
Right. So my career started very interestingly, I think. I started as a competitive dancer. I probably trained for about 10 years as a competitive dancer. And I moved up to New York after I did the cruise ships and just kind of started seeing where I would fit in best in the professional dance career and started realizing I really connected more with contemporary modern dance instead of the jazz commercial dance, which is pretty prevalent in New York. If you want to do obviously the jazz commercial world, you kind of go out to LA, and I tried that for a second, but it wasn't really my scene. So I came to New York and just really started connecting with the college dance route, and then more onto the professional dance company world, and all the while bringing my, competitive knowledge, the competitive dance knowledge with me. So my style I started merging those two, trying to find the in-between between the extremely competitive professional dance world and then what I had come from, which was the competitive dance world when I was younger. That's what my whole career has been based off of, is trying to find the happy medium in between the two, connecting with younger dancers who haven't had that kind of education yet on a professional level, but then just trying to open up the world for them as well, so it's not so scary.
Yeah.
Because it can be confusing at first, because it feels like you're jumping into something. As a younger dancer, it feels like you're jumping into something that is so far beyond your years. So that's where I found my kind of like happy place. In terms of day to day, at least when I was younger, it was all about taking class at these, Steps on Broadway or Broadway Dance Center, Perry Dance, all of these places, and really trying to find the classes that I fit in with, and then taking that one class, two classes, three classes, as much as I could, because I enjoyed the class work and also the teacher. Because you want to find, if you're looking to do this, you want to find a teacher in the city that not only has a class, but is also actively working in the field at the moment too.
Right.
Because, it's a nice, easy kind of instead of having to audition 24/7, if that's what you want to do later on, company work and whatnot. Because a lot of companies hold, company class and whatnot at these studios or at their own studios. So it's a nice way to get into that kind of life, that kind of world as it is. So yeah, it's just what I would do is take class. I would also take care of my body, working out properly, eating properly, and all the while just looking for the next job. You obviously have your side jobs that you do. I've been catering for a long time. I work for a dance competition as well. So all of these things, trying to make the dream happen,
You are listening to Navox Dance.
Right. And going off of this idea of competitive dancing, because I see a lot of young people coming from that world who are entering into maybe college, and that seems to be a little bit of a difficult transition. So do you have maybe any words of wisdom or advice for these dancers who are also trying to find their way through this concert world that may be very different from what they grew up with?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, just from experience, I remember coming to New York for the first time, and I thought as a competition dancer, you are taught a lot of different styles. So you think you're very versatile because you're like, oh, I can do tap, I can do musical theater, I can do all of these things. But what you don't realize is that if you come from the studio world, which most of these dancers do, is that you are dancing in the style of that studio. And it's very apparent that you are to other people, especially people, auditioners and whatnot in other companies. But you don't know that per se, because that's all you've ever known. Right. So I remember coming, to New York thinking, oh, I got this. I can do modern. I can do all of these things. And being told right from the get-go, oh, you're a competitive dancer. And I'm like, what do you mean? No, I mean, I'm just a dancer. What do you, and they're like, no, you're a competitive dancer. And I had no idea what they meant, because to me, I was just dancing.
Right.
I didn't realize what an affectation I was putting on my dance and my my performance because of the competitive world. And it really took me a few years to try, figure that out, trial and error, and understand what they meant. And it, for me, and what I tell a lot of students is, it's actually a lot less energy and a lot less force to find the connection, especially in modern and contemporary, than you're used to. And when you're on stage as a competitive dancer, you think that you have to engage every muscle, every second.
It's a lot of outward energy.
Exactly. Well, because it's all about perform. And when you move into the company world, it is more inside. It's about finding that emotion inside, and not even just performing that emotion, but exploring that emotion, and not being afraid to take a few moments to play with that emotion and experience it in the present moment. Where as a competitive dancer, you don't have that luxury, because you have to get on and off the stage in under 3 minutes. So you have to show them everything you got in those 3 minutes and then get off.
Right.
So you create this need to literally throw your entire body and energy into a 3-minute piece. And as you've experienced too, I mean, college dance and beyond can be upwards of an hour or longer piece, just one piece.
Right.
And the experience is now the entire show and not just a 3-minute piece. So, it was difficult at first to understand that I didn't have to throw myself into everything immediately. And also somewhat of a relief too, because I'm like, how am I going to do all this 20-minute piece, this 30-minute piece with this much energy the entire time? And you realize, wait a second, it's not about the energy, it's about the art, So
Right.
you start to relax, you start to engage in ways that you never engaged before because you didn't really have access to that when you were a kid, especially on a competitive level.
Right.
You start to understand what is important in the movement and how to regulate your energy. So, advice to a competitive dancer moving into the company world, someone said this to me and it has really changed my life. As a competitive dancer, to quote unquote mark something is something you would never do on stage. It's just something you do off stage. But it's a good thought to take something that you've been taught and then mark it, but actually do that with the same energy on stage. Because you're loosening up a little bit, you're releasing a little bit. And it is very opposite of what we've been taught. But it actually connects you in a different way to the core movement. So I would say, try marking the movement for a second and see what kind of energy you can play with in that.
Don't forget to say no to the box.
That's awesome advice. Yeah, thank you for that tip.
Yeah.
So I've also seen that you've been doing a lot of photography lately. So will you tell us about that?
Well, in this day of Instagram, and of social media, everyone's a photographer. So everyone understands what a good photograph is.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people just kept saying to me, no, you have an eye, you have something different. And I don't know why I just didn't pay attention to it. I guess I was just so focused on dance that I didn't really think that I needed to go anywhere with that. But as I'm getting older, being able to dance 24/7 is not an option for me.
Right.
So I finally, my friend just kind of convinced me to purchase a entry-level camera, and I started playing with it. Or I work with this organization called New York City Dance Alliance, and they are a huge convention and competition that travels the country, and they do a lot of shows here in New York City. And I was very lucky to connect with them in a photography sense because they were looking for a photographer for some of their shows. And they bring in Complexions, and they bring in Hubbard Street, and they bring in all of these huge named companies.
Right.
And their last show they did was at the Joyce Theater in New York, which is a huge dance theater.
Right.
And I was able to photograph it. And that kind of just, shot me up, at least in my brain, shot my career up like a really quick jump start. And my photography was featured in Vogue and Broadway World. And it was extremely exciting.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. And it kind of felt out of nowhere because I was pursuing it, but I didn't. I just got lucky, honestly, as I feel like a lot of, this kind of entertainment world is just the right place, the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I found a new love for dance through photography. And that's really exciting too, because now I can see things, what a piece of choreography would look like behind the camera as well as in front of it, I guess you could say.
Right. You have that extra leg up, so to say.
Yeah. So yeah, it's exciting.
What is this relationship? Have you noticed one with social media and your career now through photography and performance?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, if I was growing up in this day and age as a dancer, like just starting, I don't know if I could make it. It's just so multi-leveled now, and it's not just about go to that audition and book it. It's about having the right headshot, having the right dance shot, having the right amount of followers on Instagram, having that social media presence. And as much as I hate that, it's also just kind of the reality right now. So I think, having a social media presence from a young age, it seems like you have to have this what is it? Basically
like a following.
Yeah, a following, more so just like a persona is the word I was looking for. You know what I mean? Like someone that you project what you think the world would want to see. And especially as a dancer, you have to kind of put forward these beautiful shots, these beautiful pics that people can like. And it's just interesting. As a dancer, it's concerning. As a photographer, it's, there's some money to be made there,
Right.
I love photography and I love dance photography. And so I'm happy about that in one sense. And on the other sense, I'm just like, wow, you have to be your own little business by the time you're 12,
Right. You have to have your brand.
It's all about brand. And I don't know anything about brand per se, but I think I understand what a good picture looks like. So I could provide that at least.
Right. Have you noticed any other ways that maybe social media is influencing your career in particular?
I have to say, I have gotten much more insecure as a dancer. It has really affected me, positively, but I'm going to have to say maybe 51% negatively, 50% or 49% positively. Because I think what's happening is if you're a competitive dancer, you want to be better than the next dancer. And if you're seeing a dancer on Instagram doing some crazy whacked out stuff, you want to be better than that, no matter what the cost. And so that's what's now being hired. That's what's being booked for these jobs, or these crazy, extremely flexible tumblers who can do literally everything. And it's not necessarily about the art of dance.
Exactly.
Versus how many tricks that you have and what you can provide to whoever's trying to hire you, what you can provide social media wise. Right. I was just talking to a friend the other day, and I did 2 cruise ships on Royal Caribbean, and she just auditioned for Royal Caribbean, and now they're booking people off of how many Instagram followers they have on a cruise ship.
Wow.
Which is shocking to me, because I think, why does that even matter? But it's free advertisement for them. It's if you can post rehearsal pictures and now you're on the ship and now you're in the shows, that's free advertisement for them. And it's sad but true. If you have less Instagram followers than the person next to you and you're more talented than them, there's something to be said for that now. People are going to weigh that, where in the past that wouldn't even be an interest to them. This person just might have a little bit more social media savvy, even though they're not as talented as you. So
right.
It's I don't know. I'm very interested to see where it goes, but at the moment it feels negative. It doesn't feel like something that, it's certainly not real. It's certainly not something that is helping per se. On the other side of that, I do think that it's getting people who would never have danced in their life to see dance, to be exposed to dance, and that's exciting.
Right.
But I don't, I speak to a lot of students too. I taught at a ballet studio a couple months ago. I was teaching them contemporary, and we had a sit down about what social media is doing to their lives. And they said something interesting to me that I didn't even think about, but they, because they are a mainly ballet company, they said that their friends, based off of social media and what they were seeing on them, were disappointed in their ballet show because they weren't doing flips and they weren't doing crazy acrobatic movement.
That's not ballet.
Ballet, right? They were doing, whacked out kicks behind their head and tossing people around. They were doing classical, beautiful ballet. And they said their friends didn't care because of what they saw on social media. So what they said was social media is teaching people what dance is versus, or not what dance is, but what dance looks like now versus what dance really is. Right. So it's changing like the not the commoner's view, but the regular person who isn't a dancer. It's changing their view of what dance looks like, and that's
scary.
It's scary, yeah.
That's scary.
That's not what dance looks like, at least to someone like me,
Right.
So
you are listening to Navvox Dance.
And most of the videos that I do see online are not actually dancing. It's just a turn.
Yeah.
Or one single kick, a move. So it's not like long phrases. It's just a series of pirouettes or fouettes for like 30 seconds, and then the clip is done.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, impressive, but like, can they dance?
Yeah, kids at a young age are seeing that, and they're like, oh, I just want to do one more turn, and that's their focus for the whole year. And it's not about connecting to any art. It's not about connecting to any phrase work, like you said. It's just about nailing that one stunt, which is what, it's basically a stunt. Like,
right.
It's not even, when you move on, when you get into the company world, it doesn't matter how many fouettes you do. Honestly, in the commercial world, it doesn't even matter how many pirouettes or fouettes you can do, especially on Broadway, which is a big thing here in New York. It doesn't really matter. But I don't know. It's just, it's hard because I guess you got to change with the times too. You have to adapt. And I don't want to say it's bad, like social media is bad, because it's obviously here to stay. But as an older dancer, not old, but not that generation necessarily, it's just kind of interesting to watch it all play out from the sidelines,
Right. Yeah, especially because it has such a big influence on the audience. And like you said, it's exposing people to this form that they don't usually see, or like with all of these TV shows, there's so many more people who are interested in dance, but are they starting to shape the kind of values around dance? That's
right. Yeah. I mean, I really do believe that. I mean, listen, I love A World of Dance. I love a So You Think You Can Dance because of the exposure that, someone in middle America wouldn't have never had maybe in the past. However, like you just said, it's changing what they expect to see when they go see a dance show. When they go see a performance, they want to be entertained in that way. And, as you and I both know, it's not like contemporary or company work had a huge following as it is in America,
Right.
And now even more so, I feel like their, commercial contemporary is not what true contemporary is or true modern is. And so I feel like people have this expectation, and if it doesn't happen, if it's not flip, jump, twist, tilt, slam to the ground, it's not going to be interesting to them.
Right.
And I don't necessarily blame them if that's not what's in their world. If they're not connected to the dance world from someone else, I would understand. So,
right, because it is impressive.
It is impressive, and it should be. What's the word? Validated. It is validated as an athletic sport in a way.
Right.
But at the same time, I just want to make sure that people understand the difference, of, oh, that's beautiful and that's wonderful, but that truly is a sport versus the art form of contemporary modern ballet dance,
Right. That's a good delineation between the two that people don't really recognize. They just dance. It's one thing. Maybe they only have one image of it and can't realize that. I always explain it as dance is like literature. I wouldn't go to People magazine and expect the same thing as if I would read a Shakespeare play.
Oh, that's a great analogy. I love that.
And dance is the same way. Like you can get something from a 30-second dance from So You Think You Can Dance, but don't expect it to do the same thing as full-length ballet or an experimental installation somewhere.
I totally agree with that. Very much so.
All right. So we have a section called our Flash 4 portion where we ask our guests to answer 4 questions in a flash. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Flashboard.
All right, first, if you had to recommend a resource to our audience, what would it be?
The Artist's Way is a great book that, this is kind of funny, but James Cameron, the director of Titanic, his ex-wife wrote this book. And it's a kind of like bringing in, if you're ever feeling down or low or uninspired, it's a book about how to bring in art into your everyday life in ways that you wouldn't have necessarily thought. And it kind of, takes your focus away from the thing that you're focusing on so hard and shows you how it's in your life in all areas. So it's kind of like, it's a workbook. You kind of work through it every day. It's not just a quick read or anything, but it's a great way to get in touch with your artistic side, not just the way that you've been focusing on for years.
Our second question, what was the first dance you saw?
The first dance I can really remember is my very first teacher's dance. And she did a duet with her friend, and it was to Cold Hearted Snake by Paula Abdul, but actually back when it came out, not like, oh, nostalgia. And it was great. I remember loving it. 3,
do you think social media has a positive influence on the dance world? Yes or no?
I'm going to say 2. I'm going to split it up into 2. I would say if you are focusing on commercial dance, yes. I would say if you're focusing on company dance, no.
Okay, good. And our last question, what is your favorite social media platform?
I'm going to say Instagram. Instagram for me as a photographer is just gold. As a dancer, it has its pluses and minuses. But it's a great way to connect. And now that I've started really researching how you can connect with followers and with other people in that world, it's getting better for me. I'm enjoying it more. I was kind of a little bit adverse to it in the beginning, but now that I can understand how to use it as a tool and not just a way to have fun, I'm enjoying it a lot more. So yeah, I would say Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your thoughts with our audience.
Yeah.
Could you share with us your social media handles so our audience can follow you and stay connected?
Yeah. On Instagram, it's ChrisCoates24. And I believe it's the same on Facebook as well. I haven't gone Twitter route because I don't really understand Twitter, but you can follow me on Instagram at ChrisCoates24.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris, so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
It was a pleasure speaking with you too as well. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks for taking your time to tune into Dance Behind the Screen, a bi-monthly interview series where we go behind the screen to question process, product, and social media. Be sure to follow us on social media at KNOW Box Dance. See you next time, and don't forget to say no to the box.